You're now unmuted.
All right, okay. All right, we'll call to order this August 12th, 2024 meeting. Happy Pop is unable to attend, so I will attempt to fill those very nice shoes. We're going to call to order public comment. We're going to get a state of the collection. We're going to review 2 policies that were circulated, meeting room and tutoring, excuse me. We're going to discuss and vote the strategic plan that was discussed last time, and then your standard reports, agenda, future items. So first, public comment. No one is in the room. Is anyone online?
No, there is nobody online.
Okay. I will add one public comment then, just because it's not on the agenda. Just recognizing the events in Worcester last week at their library as far as the attack, also the great outpouring for the next their open house day the following or 2 days later. But I think it's always a chance to, unfortunately, revisit rules and protocols around safety, because it's never nice when those are the headlines. So I just wanted to express our admiration for the good folks doing hard work in Worcester. And I think the fact that they had such a robust event shortly after really speaks volumes, similar to things that have happened here.
I like the volumes part.
Okay.
It's a pun.
All right, no other public comment, then we can close public comment and we can move on to the state of the collection report.
All right, that's me. I'm Jamie Penny, Head of Collection Services, and I'm here to give my annual-ish report of the collection. I'm going to talk a little bit, we have some stats about, here I have some statistical information about our holdings, how many items we have and what kinds they are, and also how they circulate.
I had it shared and then I unshared it.
It was up.
It was, and now I'm changing.
That's okay. I can talk a little bit beforehand. So I'm also going to talk a little bit about collection management, how we decide what we get, what we have, how we get it, how we weed it. So basically, we've got the selection and acquisition of all of our materials, and then we have the deselection and the weeding of the materials. It's like the life cycle of the materials that we have. So basically, our collection is divided into a couple of little sort of sections. We've got the adult collection, the teen collection, the children's collection. We have fiction and nonfiction. We have formats. We've got print, large print. We have audio, various audio formats, including CDs, playaways, audio enhanced books like Wonder Books or the Tonys, which are very cute and they are very new. We just got these. There's a box about the size of a Kleenex box. And then you put, I don't know, I'm not familiar with her, but this is James and the Giant Peach. And you put this on top of it with a little magnet and it reads the story. And it's very cute and colorful and fun. And we just heard about them. We actually had a lovely donation from, I believe it was the Women's League of Reading, who gave us the first, batch. And now we're buying more because apparently they're quite popular. And so we're buying more characters. They're often characters. Like there's one of all dogs, Clifford the Big Red Dog. And I don't know, who's another famous dog? Dogs.
Old Yeller.
That's too sad to have. I think. So we don't have.
Very sad. No sad dog.
I don't
Snoopy,
even think
yes.
there's Snoopy in there, but I know there's Clifford, but I'm struggling to think of another kind of dog that we have. But, that sort of thing. Yeah. So those are very cool and new, so I'm excited about those. We also have, obviously, DVDs, music CDs, a library of things, and e-content. We have e-books and e-audiobooks. We also have a couple of services with which we can watch streaming videos, and also some of those services like Canopy and Hoopla. That was a spoonerism. Canopy and Hoopla, and you can also stream ebooks and audiobooks through those services as well. So our international collection has been growing. We've been growing it a lot this year. That we did some surveys of the languages spoken in Reading, especially in the schools. I think the schools did a big survey. There's been a few surveys. And Portuguese has kind of bubbled up. So we've been buying a lot of Spanish and Portuguese materials this year in children's, teens, and adult content, which is pretty exciting. We used to do it in fits and starts, but we're really trying to, make sure we think about diversity and build it into the annual budget every single year. We shouldn't just wait for, let's refurbish it. We're going to buy a certain amount every year. So we have money allocated for each of those in children's, teen, and adult. And I'm looking forward to, it's tricky sometimes to find the books, and they can be very expensive, but I think it's still worth it to do it because mostly it's, popular material in English that was translated, but we are looking into some sources for, books originally written in Spanish or Portuguese and buying those so that, people will be familiar with, stuff that is actually popular and originates in that language. Let's see what else. Okay, so who picks it? All librarians participate in collection development. And we've got various, there's two committees. Since the bulk of it is basically fiction and nonfiction, we have two committees of 3 for each of those. And then children's has various folks who pick like the comics and graphic novels, the nonfiction, the board books, the picture books, those kinds of things. So they have different folks that are managing each of those collections. They get a budget every year of how much they can spend. We let them know every month or so how it's going, and then they can, allocate their money throughout the year. Also, this is kind of a new thing this year, and I'm not sure why it took us so long to do this, but the fiction and the nonfiction folks, we used to have a separate person who bought all of the audiobooks. And then we thought maybe we should have the fiction people buy fiction in print, audiobook, and e-content as well, and the same with the nonfiction. So less by format and more by content, and then you buy whatever formats are needed. Some very popular titles we're going to get in all 3. We're going to get, we might get a playway and a CD audiobook and an ebook and an e-audiobook and a couple of print copies and a large print copy, and so forth. Some of the tools that we use include professional journals like Library Journal, Publishers Weekly, Book List, also popular things like People Magazine, Entertainment Weekly. That doesn't exist anymore, but we used to use that a lot. Stuff that people will get and find out about and ask about. And we get that Book Notes newsletter. Is that what it's called, Book Notes?
No, it's called.
What's it called? It doesn't really matter what it's called. Book what? Book Page. And those are around the library, and people can, patrons can have them for free, and, it informs a lot of our selection as well. Also, we think about diversity. We hope someday to do an official diversity assessment. In the meantime, we just try to be very mindful of buying content that has different looking kinds of people on the cover and is written by own voices and people of color and people with disabilities, et cetera, queer people. And we want to make sure we have that content, and when we weed it, even if it's not circling that well, we'll tend to keep it because we just want to make sure it's here and available at all times, even if it's not going out a lot. And I would say those circs are growing, those circulations are growing, but I don't have the data yet to back that up. But I feel it in my heart, so it must be true. We often use vendors' tools as well. Like there's this thing called the hint list, high interest titles in our primary book vendor, and they collect, upcoming stuff that's in all age groups, and we go through those and see if it fits in with our collection. Like, for example, I do fiction. I'll look at things in the hint list and I think, do we have this author already? Have they done well? Do they seem to do well in Reading? Or if we're happy to buy a debut. That's, we like to buy a lot of debut titles. So that's a vendor tool that we use, but a lot of the book vendors have those kinds of tools, to help librarians, busy librarians with collection development. And of course, patron requests and feedback as well. We have a form, I think, on our website, and people can just, talk to people talk to the people at the service desks. So we often collect those as well. We see if things are being interlibrary loaned a lot, if something is being asked for a lot, we're like, oh, well, obviously we should buy that or have it in, in Noble. What else? And then, the life cycle of the book or whatever it is goes through, and sometimes we have to weed the collection. Weeding is very important. We have a statement about it in our collection development policy, and we use professional tools for that as well. There's something called the CREW guidelines, which means continuous review, evaluation, and weeding, which you should be doing to your collection all the time. And the hallmarks of a healthy crew policy is that you make it part of your policy, you gather your usage statistics, and you build it into the calendar. And what we've done is each sort of, we've divided, especially this is with nonfiction, we've divided the nonfiction into various sections that are manageable for each staff person. And then they have like, this is going to be your month to weed. And you go through it and you see if it's, if it needs weeding. And so some of the reasons why you would weed something is a very cute little acronym called MUSTY. So, which means you should weed misleading and or factually inaccurate information. That can be tough nowadays, but there it is. Ugly, worn, just spotted, moldy, whatever, taped up, replace it. If you still want it, replace it. If it's superseded, new additions, travel guides from the past are not helpful. Health information from the past is not helpful. We want to weed those. Even if there is not a perfect brand new book to replace something like that, you don't want that information really to be out there. It's not safe. If something is trivial, fads will pop up and there'll be a bunch of publishing about that. And then, years go by and nobody's interested anymore. You don't need a million books on the OJ trial, for example, something that's popular at that moment. If it's irrelevant to the needs and interests of your community, I wouldn't say there's much that's irrelevant to folks in Reading, but the big three I always say are cookbooks, craft books, and craft books.
Oh, gardening.
Gardening, craft, and cooking.
Yeah.
Homely pursuits for a nice suburban town.
Yeah.
Cookbooks they go out. I mean, we have sometimes when we read the cookbook section, it'll be those 70s, the recipes are fine, but the pictures are from the 70s and the color is all weird and there's lots of Jell-O molds. So we read those. But when you look at the circs, they're still circing. It's amazing.
Somebody wants a Jell-O mold.
Somebody wants a Jell-O recipe, a Jell-O salad. They're very yummy. And then also, the material can be found elsewhere. If it's really easily available elsewhere, you don't necessarily have to have it, especially if it hasn't gone out. I mean, if something's going out, we keep it unless it's misleading. But if something is going out, even if it's, the trivial or the material is available elsewhere, we'll keep it. But, Reading is a very information-rich community. I mean, the world is much more information-rich than it used to be. So sometimes you read something and then somebody will come and ask for it. But there's always some place to find it. Another library will have it. That information can be found elsewhere, online, whatever. So people are terrified sometimes of weeding because you really know that as soon as you weed something, somebody will come and want it. And that strikes fear into every librarian's heart. But it's okay. It's going to be okay.
Do libraries ever talk and say, we have this copy and I see that there are like 10 of them and it hardly ever circulates. Who wants to keep this? So we
sometimes
noble.
Sometimes they do, especially if it's like a precious sort of. I remember somebody was giving away a set of religious books based on the Golden Bough or something like that. I don't usually do. Most of the stuff that we read is 100 copies of a very popular book that just came out. Not 100, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but we get multiple copies of very popular titles, and we really only need one in the long term once that interest has waned. And I don't usually offer them up. I put them in, we donate them to More Than Words, which is...
I didn't mean donating.
We give them to them, and then they take them away and do who knows what to them.
I think she's talking just more about there's one.
Do we make sure that there's always a copy of X book within the system?
There actually is a field in everybody's book to show if you're the last holder.
Okay.
But sometimes that is significant, but it isn't always significant. If you're the last holder of a travel book from 2010, we're not here to preserve every travel book.
No.
It's the popular collection. But yes.
Just in terms of a novel or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Particularly if it's by an author who has some sort of decent reputation.
Yeah, exactly. Classics and things like that.
Yeah.
For sure.
A great example of that are the mystery writers who have, tons and tons.
Yeah.
Right? So we can't have necessarily A through Z for the, alphabet mystery book.
I believe we do, though.
We probably
we don't.
The point being is that if we need to read it, we always check to make sure there's another copy fairly.
We're not the last one that has.
So, and then that's something that we know every other library in the system is looking at.
Okay.
Because there has to be a complete set somewhere within Noble.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can get your hands on it, as long as you can get your hands on it. What was I just going to say about, I've lost my train of thought. Mysteries. I don't know.
Amy, could you shrink this so we can see the whole?
Oh, yeah, that's what I want to do. Let's take a little look at this. So here's a snapshot of, I think this was as of July. The top one is our holdings.
Okay.
So you can see that, and that's broken down into adult, YA. I don't like the term YA, I prefer teen. Because it stands for young adult. And you may remember at some of our book challenges that happened last year, there was a person who came to it who was like, young adults, they're not young adults. And it's kind of, it makes them feel anxious that we're treating 11-year-olds as young adults because they're not. It's just a term of art that I guess the publishing industry has taken up. So I like to say teen because it is teen appropriate. And now there's a new emerging category that some folks are collecting called new adults, which is to me, young adults, early 20s, like that, new adults. But young adults is a term that the publishing industry uses, and a lot of libraries use it as well. So you can see in audio formats, that's the breakdown. You can see very few in YA because we learned that they hardly ever take the audiobooks out. They don't have CD players. They just don't, that's not how they access information. So we've really been deselecting a lot of that collection. Books, as you can see, are quite high. Materials in electronic formats is...
That is not databases.
It's not databases. It's things like, it's not ebooks either, though. These are physical, right?
They're physical items that you have to access.
But I guess it's stuff like these. Like these are materials in electronic format, the Tonys. And
Yes, a lot of times they're the kids' books that have the CD and
the enhanced audiobooks, the Wonder
audiobooks,
books and stuff like that.
Right.
Miscellaneous includes things like museum passes and probably also Library of Things, I think, is in there as well. Then you see print serials. That is not the number of different titles we have. That's the number of issues we have. It's kind of hard to figure out it's a bigger job to get the statistics on the number of subscriptions. But that's what Eris is for. We'll see that later. So there's the totals.
So can I ask, where do the ebooks sit?
The ebooks sit in, so there's a
So
couple.
this doesn't show how.
No, these are print materials.
These are physical.
Physical materials. That's
Okay,
what I meant.
got it.
Yes, tangible physical materials. We're going to see the stuff when we look at the Eris report. Can you scroll down to see the circulation?
Yes, I can.
I just thought it'd be
Wanted
interesting.
to ask, so I heard you say Playaway. So Playaway is still popular.
They are. And in fact, I think they're almost growing a little bit in popularity because, as we know, cars aren't being made with CD players anymore. And people don't. So it's nice to have a little self-contained device that you can listen to with headphones without needing a machine.
Especially if more than one person in your car wants to listen to a story. Or different music.
The kids in the back seat might all want to listen to your...
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But yeah, I find that surprising as well, because trust me, I go into Jamie all the time, I'm like, when are we getting rid of all those playaways? When are we getting rid of all those audio music CDs? She's like, they're still circulating.
They really are. We know that DVD, CDs, those things that you need those machines for, we're not making them as much. A lot of films and TV shows aren't coming out on DVD as much anymore. Companies want you to keep subscribing to their streaming service forever. They don't want you to own it anymore. You're probably never going to be able to find a Disney DVD again. Disney used to put them in the vault, and then every 20 years or so, or even 10 or 15, they would re-release Cinderella or some classic like that, and it was only available for a short time. It's very hard to find those DVDs nowadays. It's really hard, and they're expensive. So yeah, but if you subscribe to Disney Plus, then you'll have them forever and ever and ever. So then now here, this is the circulation. So you can see that the primary things that are circulating are, I guess, books, of course.
What, is this a snapshot time-wise?
This is from fiscal year 24.
We're hoping that that number, 33,000, looks very similar to the number that for our physical circulation.
Fiscal year?
In the month, no, that's
Not fiscal year. We do 30,000 a month
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, this is July, I believe. This is actually the last
Hopefully
month.
it's the same number I put in.
in there.
Half of the book population is rotated every month?
No, not 66, 1/3. Well, yeah, you're right.
33, yeah, close.
For 40%.
But it could be the same book going out 100 times rather than
Multiple.
33,000 different books going out. That's, those are circulation trends. Yeah, it is. We are the second highest circulating, sometimes the first in Noble.
Per capita. Wow.
At least first in our heart.
But Amy, if the numbers are different, it might be because miscellaneous, for example, includes museum passes, and I bet you're not including
Yes,
museum
that is
passes.
true. That is true. That's correct. So we might have, okay, cool.
Yeah, don't worry.
I know it was 30 something.
I'm sure we can figure out why. And I'm actually currently working on a little bit of a better statistical report. I keep statistics every month of what we had, and that's just a number that carries over for the fiscal year from the previous one, so I'm sure there's slippage. So every couple of years or so, I do a brand new one where I look at every single thing that we own as of, June 1st, and I figure out what the real numbers are, not the numbers that have just been sort of added and deleted over the years even. The last time I think I did a really big one was about 5 years ago, where I just kind of did it fresh.
So this is saying that in the month of July, 2,200 videos circulated?
Yes.
It's really still going out.
Oh, I don't really want to spoil the magic.
And don't.
This does include renewals.
Oh,
Oh,
So if I have a DVD and I'm away for a month and I just keep renewing, let's get 3-4 hits. But,
okay.
and that's always been the case though.
yeah,
And it does count because you're saying this person needs it for more time.
Yeah,
yeah.
So we count
Or
that.
2-week periods or whatever.
yeah, okay.
They're only supposed to renew them twice, but, we, depending on, we sometimes forgive that if people are having hardships.
It's interesting to see how many things go out in a month and how many things come back in a month, because I'm sure those numbers never match up.
And librarians are often the worst offenders.
Yes, we are.
How many overdue books do each of you have?
I don't have any books out right now. Did you want to pull up the?
I want to just pull up the ARIS, the little holdings page and the collection page, because that does include databases and downloadable, like streams of videos.
While she's pulling it up, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I was curious about, you said obviously use Noble as a check, and I like the idea of like last copy ever.
Yeah.
That they know that, but I'm curious, are most people just kind of coming in or looking, or are you still, what percentage are doing online? Because I can say I am very stereotypical. I will sit there, I will read the book review on Sunday, I will type in, I will make my requests, and then they'll show up 3 months later at a totally inconvenient time.
Yeah, and you'll go, when did I
I'm
often,
just curious, do you have a lot of people that are doing things like that and have a way to say, oh, this is a popular title? We've pulled this from Peabody 6 times.
Question.
do we have an answer?
Yes, we do, Jamie.
We know-
You are the answer. What Jamie undersold in all of that was her role as the handmaiden to all that is. So all those committees, all those people who make the selections, Jamie is sitting there looking to see where the hold lists are, right? How many people are on hold for
yeah.
this? How many copies and, and she determines, okay, it is not acceptable for us to have one book with 17 holds. We need to have one book for every 10 holds or whatever that is. So we get those reports. Those are checked regularly. She totally underestimates that. And Jamie is also the person where it is her department. But Jamie
am amazing.
She does do this, which is looking to see, because we have basically 11 or 12 people all working on collection development, sometimes working in teams, sometimes working independently. She often will flag things that fall through the cracks, right? Yeah. And so she is the one who does pretty much all the ordering. She sees everything that comes in. She sees at least a record of everything that that gets ordered and a record of everything that comes in. And so don't sell yourself short.
No, I don't. I'm not selling. I'm just trying to tell you about the collection. I wasn't going to tell you every great thing I've had.
Yes.
But I do love, I have a list called the old holds list.
Yeah.
And every month I print it out and it tells me holds that have been sitting there for more than 30 days. And I am so into it and so proud of it. I love it so much. And it tells me, like, I'll go, oh my gosh, this book that just came out called Sandwich. I don't know why. I thought, oh yeah, Sandwich, beach read, people are going to want. I got 2 copies. And now there's like 1,000 holds on it.
So
I can't even tell you how many copies we have of Kristen Hanna's The Women. That's like the most popular book right now. It has probably the most holds on. Did you read it? I don't see moment in time when I'm going to be able, although we have probably 12 copies of it.
So yes, to answer your question, yes, we have our processes, and then we have a couple safety nets, which include reports from Noble, and then just.
There's also a report called the purchase alert, which is like, and you can set it up to say, if there are more than, I think, 5 holds per copy, or there are holds that you don't own, on something you don't own, it will alert you so that you can decide whether or not to get another copy or to buy it at all. So
Are
that's,
you looking at the list that's specific to Reading's collection, or are you looking at, like, so when I go in and want a book, I often will just say all public libraries, and I'm like, just get it to me as quickly as I can get it. So the list that report that you have, is that showing what are the holds on the Reading collection?
that's the Reading holds.
Reading holds.
No,
Yes,
people holds,
people who want to pick it up at Reading,
barcodes.
We want to pick it up at Reading.
who want to pick it up at Reading.
Okay.
If Reading is your hold location, I don't care where you live.
Yes, that's correct.
And although I do say that everybody in the state and the world really are my patrons, I don't buy extra copies because Beverly has a million holds on something. I buy them when we do.
So yes, it does matter. Like, so if you were to put yourself on hold.
So it doesn't matter if I
Time.
said, is it in the Reading collection or is it in all public libraries? What matters is I say, I want to pick it up in Reading.
Correct.
Right.
That's what matters.
So if there's something that Reading, for example, doesn't own, but several people have placed a hold on it, and we don't own it, but they do want to pick it up at Reading, I will find out every time there's 5 of those. And then I can decide, oh yeah, it's time for us to get it.
Start of a
Or it's
trend.
just a weird blip.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and that's where the evaluation, that's where
You'd be like, this was an old book all of a sudden. And you're like, oh, some talk show or some, there was some, or there's a TV show being made out of it. And then you have to go, you want, if something is coming out like the Immortals book.
Oh,
Name or
it
show,
ends with us.
Hillbilly Elegy is back on the bestseller
Yeah.
list.
Yep. And
The Kate Bush CDs went flying about a
they
year
really did.
ago.
A sidebar here. I have an original pressing of that album, and I have a young friend, he's a friend of mine, as a kid of one of my friends who now is a turntable, and he's a little hipster collector. And I gave that to him, and he recently sold it with my blessing for $120.
Oh,
That Hounds of Love.
wow.
I was pretty happy about that.
All right, so what did you want to see in this?
I just wanted to show some of the database, because the Aris will tell us how many database. So I want to see, what are we
I
looking at?
know, we're just looking at the whole thing that we fill in. Okay, ILO.
I want to see, so holdings and, what's it called?
Interlibrary
One
loan.
that was called holdings,
In case you're wondering, we received 33,000 ILLs.
ILLs
And we.
last year.
Okay,
Yeah, this shows you some cool stuff.
yep. Okay, here we go.
Should we
Okay.
receive more requests then?
We should fill more.
We feel more than we receive, I think. No?
Not anymore, no.
Oh, we used to be, they call that net lender or net borrower.
We want to be a net lender.
We're not.
All right, so there's the children's books for you.
Okay, so let's go to, what do they call them now?
You select,
Online learning platforms.
yeah.
We used to call them digital resources, I think. So
So,
usage of databases is 84,000 last year. And that's just local databases. So there's local databases, that's stuff that we get ourselves and pay for, Reading pays for. There's databases that Noble pays for, and then there's databases that the state pays for. But look at the database usage. And what is usage? It's clicking, you have to,
yeah.
we get statistics that say views, pages, and there are rules that Aris, the state, gives us about what constitutes a hit. So
There we go.
those are-
There's our electronic subscription.
yeah, I wanted to see that ebook thing. You just went by it.
Totally booked.
So first is, okay, that's Prince. This is just the,
see, electronic collections have been renamed online learning platforms.
right. So was the.
So we have,
Upstairs.
we only have 6 electronic series subscriptions?
Serial, yeah, so that's individual things, I think, like Consumer Reports.
Oh, okay.
Wall Street.
Yeah.
New York Times. This is the total. I'm just afraid if I scroll too fast, sorry.
There-
Okay, so
Oh, these are by age group.
Yeah, this is
these
also,
are the holdings. So we have 20,000 ebooks because that's all the holdings that are in overdrive.
Drive.
For children only, though.
Those are
Right.
children's
We could
titles.
look at the adults.
And there's this exact section for adult teen
Right.
children.
And somewhere there's, in red are the totals for everything.
Yeah.
What gets a little fuzzy and is very difficult is when you have a service like Hoopla, who actually also has ebooks. we don't count that as ebooks. It's a Hoopla service and we just count it for the usages. So, and that's just something that's where the system for collecting and counting data has not caught up with the systems for providing.
Right. You report that you have that service, but you don't list every single audiobook that they have available as your audiobooks.
What about with Libby? Can you distinguish the audio
That's over.
from?
Libby is Overdrive.
Okay. Is
We do that.
Overdrive?
Yep. Libby is the app, I guess, that
The app.
access Overdrive with.
So here's, obviously books remain books. But here's the holdings.
Yeah, there's ebooks, 84,899.
Yeah. At the top.
With over 200,000 at the
So
bottom.
we have copyright for, over the course of last year, we had the copyright for 84,000 ebooks.
What do you mean we have the copyright?
Not copyright, but
We had use access, yes, that's.
Use access,
So we have access to the overdrive and then, you get into the final things, which what's not reported here is the number of people that use borrow a book from the MVLC overdrive or from the Boston Public Library overdrive. We try to report that to you all, or at least we get a report and share it amongst ourselves, to say, how many people we can get that, say, people with Reading Public Library card checked out 700 books from other consortium, other ebooks from other consortium overdrive systems. Doesn't tell us who it is, doesn't tell what it is, but we can get the raw number on that. So while we'll say there were 5,000 uses of overdrive from our library users, it doesn't include when our library users go out of network.
And I would say that the ebook and e-audio is opening up, anybody with a library card in Massachusetts can use BPL. And you can also use other, you could, do any of you use Libby? You can tell it what network you want to be looking through. And so you don't have to have like the Reading library card to go borrow a physical book like you would. You can just use your card and they're opening that up. They're weird with their data, and then in other ways they're open. You can borrow it
Is
anywhere.
that a recent change?
No.
Because it's not?
It isn't?
No, I've always been able to get a BPL card. If you have a valid library card anywhere else in Massachusetts, you can use it to apply for a BPL e-card.
E-card.
And that's always been able to give you access to all of their databases and to all of their overdrive Libby stuff.
And that's true for BPL, but I don't know that it's true for other networks.
No, the other networks are new.
Yeah, because BPL is the library of last resort, or whatever they call it.
And they receive special funding from the state for that.
I thought I had a separate BPL card. You actually
Oh, I used to too.
suggested to me
Yeah, I
that
did.
they had a broader network at one point.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if maybe I used my card to get in the door. And they
Would have had to have done that because they allow that, but you do have to prove that you're at least a resident of the state.
So, yeah.
So presumably if we gave you a card, we must trust you. So
You don't even have to be a resident
I
of the
don't think
state.
I ever entered my Reading card number. I used.
it depends on what year you did it.
It's been a long time.
So depends on what year you did it. So, but that the reciprocal lending is something we can only do. We only collect that data really for Noble at a sort of granular best case level. But yeah, people use BPL stuff. We would have no idea if you were at home searching, Reference USA at the BPL business branch or whatever, using your BPL e-card. We would have no record of that. I guess
There's some funny stuff on here. I see total microforms, 650. And what they tell you to do is go to one of your, it's usually the newspapers that, the local newspapers like the Advocate and the Chronicle and all that stuff. And they say to you, go to a drawer and count the ones in one drawer and then just multiply it by the rest, because we don't expect you to go, because you're physically counting them. There's no digital way to know how many you have. So I just find that number kind of funny. 650, that's a lot.
I guarantee you, if you ask Jocelyn, she will count X.
Jocelyn will definitely count. She's our local history librarian.
Anyway,
What's happening?
I'm just moving. I don't know what's going on.
Because you're only moving the bottom.
Split screen.
I'm actually going to stop this
Oh,
share.
you do have a split screen there.
That data, which was submitted, I think I mentioned it last time, the ARIS data, which is the annual report, annual information survey, it prints out in that beautiful, ugly PDF format. But it is where we pull a lot of statistics from, and it's an annual report that we do for the fiscal year, and it's reported to the state. So we get, I would say a large portion. I would say everything related to our collection, we probably get through Noble because Noble manages Evergreen. So they're able to pull up and distill like, okay, Jamie, this is how many books you get. We can run that report every month, but they also give us a year-end statistic. So, and then there's many other things that on that RS report that we have to manually do, programs, reference questions, staffing,
highest degree of education of various staff members.
salaries, things like that. So we report quite a bit. But the collection piece is pretty fascinating and it's changed over time.
And they're collecting more like challenges this year. They're collecting a lot of information about challenges.
About challenges, informal challenges. They were looking for challenges to programs, collections, and I think displays.
Yes.
Separated it out into 3. And then they said if you had any, were they for children's, teens, for adults?
Have to say what the books were?
No, we did not have to say what
No titles?
No. The formal challenges would have been already filed with the Intellectual Freedom Committee and the Massachusetts Library Association and the ALA. So that already would have been filed. They were just looking for sheer numbers. And I think one of the things we were discussing today earlier was that when we report things to the state, sometimes it's for a very specific certification reason, like how many hours were you open? Sometimes the state is collecting this information so they can just get an aggregate number for the state. So they don't care that how many programs Reading had was more or less than last year. They're not grading us on that particular thing or even the number of books they have. They're looking to aggregate and say, 371 public libraries had to do this report. This is how many books, this is how many circulations, this is how many programs were run. So it's not necessarily, those particular things aren't about grading or judging us. The state is actually, and the federal government are using it to, really justify why we go to the State House and we ask for money for for state aid to public libraries and things like that. Although we always get worried, we're like, is that the same number that we had last year? Did we go down? Did we go up?
Sometimes if it's too different from the previous year, it will flag it and say, you got to justify it.
Yeah. You only had 5,000 people come last year. Now you had 25,000,
And we're like, oh, right, it was COVID. That was a big year where everything was different. It was just COVID. That was the answer for why. We have 0 programs this year? Or, yeah, that's why.
So I want to thank you for, talking a little, we don't usually go this in depth about the collection, but it's something that we really do spend a lot of time looking at and analyzing. It's a really core piece of what we do. Unlike the programs that you get a presentation on and get, have Andrea in here 3-4 times a year telling you all the hundreds of
cool stuff.
It's really cool, really fun stuff. And collections are too.
But I agree. And some people are like data averse.
Yeah.
I am one of those people.
Yeah.
That's why I became a tech services librarian and not a public services librarian. If you put me in front of if you made me do a program, I'd be fired.
But Jamie does really do a lot, and it's a lot to handle.
And I have a good team as well. But Catherine Jeffrey Scannell, who's the librarian 2 in collection services, did the bulk of the holdings and collection stuff in the ARIS report. I barely touched it.
And I also,
and Amy does all the how much square feet do you have in your building? And
the other thing that we didn't talk to, we'll have to talk to tonight, but maybe for next year's update is we can talk about how we obviously have a very human-based service here, and there are pure data-driven systems, and there's even AI-driven systems, which we're particularly big fans of at the moment. Have yet to be proven that, because I think some of the things that our folks do in terms of assessing information, assessing the temperament of the community at the time,
qualitative data
that they pull in from, how angry was that person when I asked for the item? So I think, and, collecting soft hits like reference, somebody mentioned this at the desk, somebody mentioned this at the program, this sort of soft hits are good. So, but I think it's something to, definitely keep an eye on. So, anything else, Jamie?
I have nothing else, but I can answer any questions if you have any more. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to see you all.
Great, informative.
All right.
Do a great job.
Well, I hope so. I do love my old hose report very much. It's my favorite thing. The
I
Tonys.
feel like we need to have a note somehow generated with a little bow on it for Jamie.
They do it, but then I lovingly and carefully figure out what, for example, let's just take an example of a single book that's very popular, and there'll be like a 25 holes on it, and I'll just go, okay, it's working through. And I'll put the names of the next 3 people just so I can see that it's moving. And if somebody's still there and they shouldn't be, I go, oh, I look at the record and I'm like, oh, they have overdue books. And we give it to the circulation department and they call that person and they say, you have this on hold and you're never going to get it until you return these other books, or whatever the reason is. So I see how it's flowing through.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's by the card
value
number,
added.
but it's value added, and it's by the card number, and there's no judgment on the person who.
Oh, yeah, no, just bring it back. That's all we care. We don't care.
We just identified the problem and offer you a solution.
If you tell me a terrible, sad story, I will clear it.
That's just one on public
Don't
record.
tell me the same sad story 15 times in a row, because then we're on to you.
Was that kind of like the kid in high school who's absent because his
Dog ate
grandmother,
the-
his grandmother
yes.
died?
How many
from a
grandmothers do you
13th
have? My dog ate the book. Then keep your dogs away from the books. I return that. It's probably under your car seat.
There are a lot of car seat cars.
It's true. I've done it myself. All
Okay.
right. Have a nice evening, everybody.
Okay, so moving on to item 4, which is a review of the meeting room policy. And we have minor corrections and clarifications, and the red lines have been provided. I think they're pretty discreet and somewhat self-explanatory, but anything in particular
No?
like us to call our attention to?
No? Do you have anything you wanted to?
It's true, really did want to just we had minor adjustments to the policy. We changed some of the language because we're going to be moving to new software for for both the calendar and for the room bookings. So just minor changes with that.
Additional fees may apply.
We change it to, additional fees may apply. And then one of the things that we are going to be getting, but not yet, is credit card payment, and that won't be coming for about 6 months. And it was because it was going to be very expensive monthly for us to use the service that they currently have available. And so we're going to wait until probably the end of the year, and then we'll be able to use Stripe, which the town already uses and won't be as expensive.
Our goal here is to, and Megan runs us reports on all of our fines and fees. So we can tell like how much are we spending in printer paper, how much are we spending in replacing chairs, and because all of that gets paid out of the fines and fees revolving fund approved by town meeting every April. And we decided on additional fees may apply when paying by credit card, because we'll probably start off with passing through the fee to the patron, because it's usually a small fee. You do it now if you pay your taxes or any of your bills online, you pay the credit card fee. Our goal, I think, would be to bring that down to us being able to absorb the fee, but we just don't know. We don't know what that balance is. So we left that so that we can evaluate it each year and change as needed. But that's just to let you know that in the policy, it says there's a possibility, it's likely that we'll probably charge you a fee. And honestly, most governments and nonprofits do charge a fee whenever you do anything. You make a donation, sometimes it'll say, there's an additional processing fee for online credit card. Oh, I just had
I see there's under
Yeah.
technology assistant, at least 5 business days.
Yeah, that was a correction. I just wanted, on number 4 and 5, they're a little bit duplicative, but we felt that we really wanted to reinforce that until you actually hand over the money, we consider it can be a confirmed reservation, but it's not a final, or it might be an approved reservation. And that is one of the biggest things that we come into, is that people showing up, they haven't paid. And we're like, where's the check? Well, it's coming. Or like, well, you can't have the room until you've actually paid for it. And, well, I have to go home. And yes, you do have to go. So we realize that this number 4 and 5 are duplicative a little bit and reiterative, but we're trying to enforce the point. And what Michelle was just talking about is it's a minor correction. Up above, it says you have to request assistance 5 business days in advance. We're just trying to make sure everything matches.
So back to the 4 and 5 you were just talking about, I was feeling the same way, that they're duplicative. I get the point of why why you're emphasizing this. I I was struggling with the word finalized in number 5.
Okay.
It was like,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Please.
that your reservation is not confirmed until payment is received.
So that was a language thing.
That's a language because of
In
the
the
software.
software. So please note that your reservation is not finalized until payment is received. So that actually, yes, that makes sense. So we took out the approved applications are not confirmed because that was confusing. And so then, and that helped us to reiterate that you need to make your payment.
I could just say you
But then-
can't come and do your program until you pay the.
Yeah, I think honestly, now that I'm looking at it again, I'm wondering if number 4 could just end number 4 should just be about the time frame. And we should get rid of rental applications are considered pending or anything like that. We should just say you have to make your reservation between 5 days and 90 days, period. That's the end of the story. And then we talk about the payment in the next one, which is payment is due within 48 hours.
And then that's
And is
it.
not, yeah.
Oh, wait. And then payment is due within 48 hours of notification approval. The library may cancel reservation due to
Yeah.
non-payment. So like take out that middle part.
Yeah, we could take that middle part out and just leave that. And actually, the shorter it is, the easier it is to rely on and go back to, yep, there's one sentence in number 5.
It says it may cancel, it doesn't say it will. I mean, if you really want the money in advance,
Yeah.
Do you want us to say will? 'Cause
Yeah.
we can.
I think you should, do you want the money, if the money isn't, so if someone comes and pays you 24 hours in advance, you're still gonna let them do the program?
We've let them pay day of.
We have, if somebody knows our policy, what will happen is we have canceled people's reservations because they haven't paid. And then they'll just go in and they'll rebook they'll reserve it again because it has been within the,
5 days.
within the 5 days.
Or after, yeah.
So they're basically playing the system, I guess.
Yeah.
And so if
They can
we
keep
do
rebooking.
say, the library will cancel a reservation due to non-payment, that is much more
Right.
solid.
And I guess I would question, this says payment is due within 48 hours of notification. Should it just be within 2 business days prior to the event?
Say it one more time.
Do you want the minute, do you want to, do you want the money up front? Like,
I want the money up front because I don't want the room being held and then not used.
That's right.
That's why I want the money up front.
yes, I want my money.
So if
8 hours is enough.
at 90 days, you put in your application and at 6 days, the library approves it. You have 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay, because then now we're holding that room for 84 days. And if they're not going to show up and use it, we want someone else to have a chance.
That's exactly.
So I guess my only question is, do you think 48 days, do you think if we extended it?
48 hours?
48 hours. Thank you, Terry.
Welcome.
Do you think that there would be an advantage to coming down tougher on the payment, but giving them a bigger span of 5 days,
So,
5 business days from a notice of approval,
To come in with the payment.
of confirmation?
Never know what that means. Does that include the first day you're told?
Yeah.
I never know how.
I mean, yeah, I think maybe we should just go around the room and have, what do you think the payment?
Okay, so 4, first of all, 4, I think we agree, 4 is ending after
Event.
date and time of the event, right?
Yes.
Payment is due no later than, because you could get paid months in advance, right?
Okay.
No later than 2 business days before the event?
This is before the event. This is notification of approval.
Yeah. So we mediate.
Oh, so you want to get paid right away?
I want to get paid right away. And one of the reasons why we added this was because people were not paying.
Right.
And so
To be fair,
The credit cards and like that'll.
it is going to make it so much
Right.
better.
So if
Yes.
someone's reserving and the treasurer for their thing is away in Florida and blah, 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 blah.
And that
blah,
has happened.
And that has happened, I mean, on the other hand, it's a $10, $20.
I was going to say, if someone in the group can't come up with the $10 or $20 and then get reimbursed by their organization, I mean, that's kind of sad.
Well, we also, if someone is willing to tell us, hey, I have a situation where I can't get the payment and in time, we will work with somebody. This just helps us be,
And you need a policy that says may instead of will.
and that's why we say may. That's the reason. Yep.
So payment is due within 48 hours of the notification of approval.
I mean, I would switch that to 2 business days, so it isn't
48 hours, right?
8 hours. You know, I did this at 3 PM on Saturday.
That's true.
Right.
Till 3
That
PM
makes
on blah,
sense.
blah.
And if the library isn't open on Sundays, if it's a period of time where we're not open on a
Or holiday.
weekend or.
And it's consistent with what we say with the 5 business days up here.
Yeah, 2
Yeah,
business.
that's good.
Do you think 2 business days is enough? I think that was my question.
Yes.
I do.
And then do we need the bold sentence, or do we just say the library may cancel the reservation due to non-payment? Period.
Just not, and nothing about not received within. I think we just say,
Yes.
I think we just say,
It's too confusing.
yeah, I
You're
think we
right.
just say,
Yeah, as written, it's basically like, I want you to pay us now, but yeah, we're going to take.
yeah, and no, we don't, we want to say, we don't.
I know that's the policy, but you don't need to say like
we
pay in
need to
48.
say- We need to say, you need to pay up.
The library may cancel the reservation due to non-payment,
You run the risk
Yep.
of losing.
period.
I think that's great.
I'll be really
Okay.
curious.
Or the library may re-rent the space at that time.
I think if we leave it to due to non-payment, then it doesn't even, we're being much more firm.
And then if you had Amy editing it, she'd put it in yellow, highlight, bold it, and circulate it, may cancel. But that's okay. That's why I don't do that.
I mean, you know, if they're not able to get their payment together, they could rebook a week later.
Correct.
Looking far enough out,
Right.
get the
I
check in.
suppose it encourages someone to have advanced planning to say that I understand that I need to be ready to go and roll with this once my reservation's accepted.
Yep.
Okay. Good discussion.
Thank you.
So Megan's got all that and
Are
we'll,
there any other questions related to the meeting room policy?
Sorry, I want to ask about number 6.
oh, yes.
The full refunds are issued to cancellations received Wednesday.
So here's how I'm reading it. Tell me if I'm right. So I'm reading it as 2 things. Full refunds are issued to cancellations received 1 business day in advance of the event. So I have to cancel my event. I do it within a day. You refund me.
Yep.
Yes.
Also, and then next sentence, also, if the library is closed due to weather, or if the library must cancel the event due to scheduling conflicts, we will also refund you.
Correct. Those are the 3
Separate
situations.
things, right?
That can be at separate sentences.
I feel like it needs to be separate sentences.
Okay.
Because when I first read it,
What you're saying?
Yeah, it is 2 sentences.
I almost felt like it was being canceled I was only getting my money back if the library closed, not if I canceled.
We could make those into subparts.
Yeah.
Refunds are issued when cancellation is for one business day. The library has to close.
I don't even think you need the sentence that starts cancellations by the applicant. I would just take that last sentence out.
Agreed.
Okay, I got you. This is why we record these meetings, so we can make these changes.
And number 7,
Yes,
to be consistent, I would encourage you to say will be billed within 5 business days.
business day, every 5 business days. Number 7 should be 5 business days instead of 7 days.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep. Thank you.
How many times did we look at this? This is why,
Not to it. I mean, I think that's why.
Yeah, and you're helping us really
no, it's all good. It's really
firm
good.
it up.
Yeah, I mean, this is the document that you can use to back up
Right.
whatever you're trying to enforce in the meeting room, so.
Yeah.
Nice to give you flexibility, but still be rigid.
It's nice to have, yeah, exactly. We try to reduce all barriers, but sometimes preventing someone from doing something, when someone behaves badly, it prevents other people from using that same resource. So that's what this is about. This is about not necessarily blocking access to one person, but making sure other people have equal access, equitable access to the rest of it. Okay, excellent.
And for the record, I was not laughing at what you were saying.
Of course you were.
Laughing at the last thing, that you have full discretion over the use of that piano.
I do.
I just reached that point, and on the adopted and amended,
Yes.
the adopted and one of the amended doesn't have a colon, others do, just.
Okay, got it. Oh, look, one of them doesn't even have a date. We don't know what date it was approved in June 1988. But yes, we will correct the punctuation on that. They didn't have computers back in 1990.
It's a small thing, but, we're also, somebody's embracing the one space after a period now, so we are moving.
Kills.
All right. Not get the
Kills
juice
me.
by going back to,
Probably, I can probably go back to that.
and not that you need to do that, but I would imagine that It must be in the
It's probably in there somewhere.
notes.
It's definitely something that we just kind of gloss over. I'm like, oh yeah,
It was June.
it was somebody thought it was a good idea. All right.
Great, sir, everybody. Okay, can we move on to the next agenda item, the tutoring policy, which is, again, provided here in a red line.
So several of us went over this and made, again, some minor changes and clarifying language. We wanted to make sure that it was understood that the tutors are responsible for whoever they are tutoring, that the library is not responsible for making sure that the tutors know when we're open and that they monitoring their students. So that's one of the reasons why you're seeing a whole bunch of changes under 7, 8, and 9.
We have no way to know whether the tutor is using the library as a classroom or a space or whatever. So I felt that that was more of a purpose statement than a.
It's like 8 really should be 2 different points.
Oh, yes, the tutors may not reserve.
Students may not use library telephones, and then library will not take receive payment.
Oh, I would say, and then I would say the one before that should probably be two as well. Tutors are not responsible for checking the library hours and making appointments, and I think the next one should be tutors may not reserve tables.
I agree with both.
There might be four. There might be 4
points there.
Take each of these.
Yep.
Standalone.
Better to have more concise points than.
Correct. Because then they'll be like, I didn't read the second sentence.
With the cuts, you still may be on that one page, so it's hard to see with the red line.
I know. It will be on 2 pages if we make them into 4 events, but or bullets. But yeah.
Any other questions or comments on the tutoring policy? Okay, so we're clear on those edits. We're just, everything's standalone. Fantastic. Let's go up to the top, see where we are. Discussion and vote on the fiscal year 26 through 2030 strategic plan.
So got the changes from Maura, or I'm sorry, we had the changes from the meeting, and then Maura incorporated them into, the comments, as far as we could recall from Megan watching the meeting over and over again and taking minutes, and my own watching it, were really just about a couple of the points on the 3 areas of focus. There were no changes to the mission or anything like that. So I believe, were they mostly under the space and place? Talked about diversity, increasing diversity among staff and board members. I know that was one. And I think anywhere you see the word feasibility, that might be, or investigate, soften the language on some of those things. We can go through these quickly. Starting with customer convenience. Do you guys just want to read yourselves and see if you have?
I have a question on page 7, the library is space and place.
Yes.
I realize that this is something that you haven't done yet, but I'm wondering how you could broaden the meeting room policy outside of reservations and internal use.
I think it's just to really look at the things that we were just looking at, and might it be something like expand the number of reservations. It might be to increase other spaces for opening it up to for profits. You know, what are the community needs? That's what it was intended, just to,
You don't have very much time available, do you? When it's not used, except maybe during the mornings?
yeah, so I think that's one of the things is when is it not being used and how could we better use those times?
Okay,
There's definitely competition for the evenings usually.
right, right. So it's morning and afternoons?
But I will say the 12 times a year does occasionally, we've had some people. So it's just, I think it was just a thought process of, and I think that maybe came out of some other comments and questions people had. It's like, oh, it seems like we should use the meeting room more. And to make sure that the policy and our current setup is not a barrier.
How many people push up against that 12 per year limit?
It hasn't happened that often. It was happening for a while with a few organizations, but I'm not seeing that right now. I don't know if they're going elsewhere.
I see this also being part of a larger question is let's look at the number of, we've seen an increase in the town using our right? And that's
Yes,
good.
for sure.
Do we see an increase in the public using it? If not, why? Does it have to do with the policy? Do we want to see an increase in those uses, either by the town or by the public?
Are we generating as much revenue as we did before or less? Oh, no, we know.
COVID?
Yeah.
The numbers are moving up. We haven't increased the rate that people have to pay, but it's slowly coming back. So looking at the statistics from last year, it hasn't gone up that much. It's gone about a fourth. And once we have our new software in place, and once we have credit card payments, and once we're going to be getting a new, the hybrid system, I am planning on really pushing out for more people to use the space. So my goal is to have more people use it. And we do have the same organizations use it over and over again. And I'm just looking to get more variety of people knowing that we have it. And then I also want to say that one of the organizations that we're having issues with, we're actually working more with them. So we've done things where librarians come into their meetings and actually do presentations for them. We are publicizing our events to their newsletter. So we're really trying to make amends, I guess. and-
Build
yeah.
partnerships. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the philosophies early on was that this is not somebody's clubhouse.
Yeah.
Right? We want to be very specific, like this can't be your sole. Maybe that's something that should change. Maybe if this is, and the nice thing about having this go through FY30 is hopefully now in FY30, the town will have made a decision on what kind of community center, if any, that it wants to have. If that community center has 16 meeting rooms, that's going to drastically change how we use our space.
Yeah.
Well, it'll depend on how the town charges for them too.
Correct. So that's why we always want to keep these things in mind because I think, because we know there's a potential for either a senior center or a community center, one of those things that we would offer that overlap are things like the community room. They're not going to have a collection. They're not going to have necessarily the same type of programs that we do, but that meeting room rental is something that we want to keep an eye on over the next few years.
Gotcha.
In an effort to, I feel like we're back to the meeting room policy a little bit, but in an effort to bring more groups in, do we translate our policies into other languages?
No, we should.
Maybe we should.
Yeah, we totally should. Yes, we should really be doing that.
We should translate all of our policies so that
Sure.
an understanding of what our policies are. But if we're looking to have outreach to different kinds of groups, then we could, if we provide it in other languages, people may understand what our offering is.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
That would also mean that we should have lots of stuff translated to other languages.
Which aligns with many of the other
Right.
parts of our strategic plan.
I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
I mean, if people don't know what the services are because they can't read English, then they don't know what the services are. So they won't come because they don't think there's anything here for them.
And that also goes to the website and having correct translations
Yep.
as we're transitioning into a new website.
Correct.
start thinking about that.
On the strategic plan, under community learning and engagement, goal 4, what Jamie said really struck me about young adults.
Yes.
When I read the bullets under goal 4, it seems what we're really saying is we want to develop transition strategies for our tweens and teens to grow into library services.
Okay. Engage with goal 4, which bullet point?
No, so the goal here is saying for young adults, right? And Jamie's point was
Right.
young adult, people have a strong reaction to that when you're talking about younger. And we also here are saying tweens, but 13 is not a tween.
Yep.
So these bullets don't seem to be in line with what we're saying the goal is.
So could we say youth and young adults age 11, 20? We could broaden the goal.
So do we really feel like the goal is, and tell me, I mean, you guys know better than I do, but do you really feel like the goal is ages 17 to 20? Or is the goal really ages 11 to 16?
See your point.
I think it's, in my perspective, it's more of, all right, you're transitioning out of school. So, you're not coming to the library to study. You're not coming for particular books or anything. It's a transition point in your life where maybe you cut the library out because it doesn't fit. So
Okay.
I'm kind of seeing it as a 16 to 20 range of people that are finishing school or kind of transitioning in their lifestyles.
We could also just talk about transitions in general. Because I think
I like what Andrew's saying, though. I'd love to see
I'd
that
love
as
to
a
see
bullet.
that. Yeah.
Right,
I'd love to
we
see
need
that as a bullet,
How about
because this is all saying tweens and teens.
teens? And we want to add another bullet. Okay, so we broaden it to 11 to
Because
users.
transition points along your,
Points. So tween to teen, teen to older adult. I mean, tween to young adult, true young.
What about accept?
I think it's out of the elementary, out of the children's room, sorry, out of the children's room,
Yeah.
from into tween, and then tween to teen, and then from teen to an
And
independent.
we want to have a focused strategy. Those groups working, so you've got the elementary ones and you've got the teen librarian, and we're mashing together to have a strategy to deal with tweens. We have an adult librarian and a teen librarian. Well, teen librarian's going to be busy coming together to say, how are we transitioning for these adults that are going to college or, living at home with their parents or somehow made millions and can afford a house and everything. That age group between 16 and 20, I see what you're saying there. We're transitioning to being independent young adults. We're transitioning between kids and, I like that.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy to work with that. And for the sake of public meeting, et cetera, I'm wondering, maybe Andrew and Manette, I could run a draft by you to be proposed for the September meeting.
Sure. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
One idea I had, if you want to stick with this, although I think you can probably come up with something better, is taking the third bullet and changing it to assess usability of existing space and collections to meet the evolving needs of young adults.
And you'll just send that to me.
I would even go assessing the needs of individuals,
Yeah,
anyone.
right. Yeah, for transition, when you're transitioning, yeah. Yeah, you're going to have, I'm not putting empty nesters in there. On your own at that point.
And
What do
then
we talk about things?
the other one I want, under library is space and place.
Yes.
Goal 4. I know this was one that we had talked a lot about, the wording of those 2 bullets. Just makes me a little nervous that we're putting a goal saying we're going to support fundraising efforts.
I can see that. I actually was wondering, continue library landscape improvements or usability, improving enhancements or something like that. Because I think when I go back to this, I think that we need to, the committee work is great and we'll continue to that. But I think the committee has discussed things that we can be doing outside of the landscape committee that can mesh with or support or enhance and so I wonder whether if we took off the second bullet point and added something about other enhancements and improvements, but keep the focus on, we understand that there's still a big potential project that we could be doing on the outside that's going to be serving the library, serving the community, but then add a second bullet point that says, and other enhancements, as financially feasible. I do think that if you're investigating the recommendations for the implementation of feasibility, the big thing behind that is, can we afford it?
Yeah.
And I think once you've done that, you're going to have a whole set of other steps. The second bullet point assumes you've gone through the first bullet point and come to the conclusion that you can.
Yeah.
So that might be, that might be part of the feasibility thing.
Yeah. I also don't love investigate because
Okay.
first bullet only, I feel like we are trusting the ad hoc library landscape committee to have done all of the investigation
Evaluate?
or prioritize.
Well, prioritize.
Advertise is good.
Yeah, prioritize.
I feel like we're going to take their recommendation and we're going to prioritize it based on money, right? We're going to say, okay, these are all the things that could be done, that's such an awesome plan, but what can we do with the plan?
So hypothetically, though, prioritize. Well, who is this for? This is now,
Considering
The Massachusetts Board of
Staff and us.
Commissioners, and this is also a document that when we're not going to get money from the Mass Board of Library Commissioners to do this, but if I'm applying for a such and such grant from the such and such bank, and I can say our strategic plan includes a focus on the library of space and place, of which goal number 4 is to enhance and increase, usability of exterior library spaces. And we have done this, and we have had this, so what it does is it codifies to anyone who asks why we are pursuing these things. Well, we said we were going to pursue these things. So that's what the purpose of having that in there. If something's not in here, we absolutely can pursue it and do it.
Yeah.
It's just that by putting it here, we validate, it's to validate things, the bigger things that you're going after. So going back to the things like languages, if we have to invest in, a language translator. Yeah, because interpreter's voice, translator, I think is writing. So we have to invest in a translator, and then I go back and I say, oh, well, I'm going to need, I'm going to use, by the way, trustees, I'm going to use 50% of our state aid money this year on completely translating all our documents. You all are going to nod and say, yep, we understand that is something that, or when I apply for a grant to have somebody help us with that funds, they say, yes, you know what you're doing. It says, oh, I came up with it last night.
I would almost jump back a little bit to what you were saying, where you change goal 4 to not necessarily mention the library landscape project, but continuing library landscaping. First bullet point is the support of the ad hoc library landscape committee. And then a second bullet point would be continuing landscape projects or.
So goal 4 is continue to enhance our outdoor space or continue to enhance libraries, landscaping, not specifically focusing on the project.
Right.
And then the bullet 1 focuses on the project.
Yes.
But it gives us a bigger umbrella.
Lets us do something that's outside of the ad hoc committee.
right.
Yeah.
It gets to this.
Well, it's something that's outside of the inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't even have to say library landscape project.
Yeah.
You could just say, continue use of, or or explore.
Beautification of the library outdoors.
Yeah.
We could go back to what it said in the previous strategic plan, which was pretty good. And I can go look at what that said. And it did say something like, I think that was investigating some feasibility stuff, but it was definitely saying, look, you have this outside space. Are we being our mission and meeting, and are we doing our core values? The answer at that point was no. We have progressed. We have progressed, and we have, and now we have these some concepts and ideas of how we're going to use the outside space to meet our mission, core values, and vision. And so we're going to take whatever that was, and we're going to do that as a holistic bullet point. One part will be landscape committee, and and their subsequent projects or recommendations, and then one part will be other.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yep.
Good.
Go up a little bit more on goal 2. bring up. So the second part, and use data to support the development of a diverse board. I don't think I'm fully understanding that. Would it be use data to help educate and support a diverse board? I'm a little confused.
I thought that conversation was looking at like the town's census data and saying Reading is 15% BIPOC. Therefore, we should try to have a representative board and we should have a goal that our board reflects that. I thought that's what that conversation was. Does that sound familiar to people?
Yes.
So there might be a better way to say that, but that's how I remember that conversation.
Maybe the idea of reflecting the community.
A board of a board.
For aligning
closely-
board
To more closely reflect the diversity
A diverse board that
Reflect the-
that better reflects the diversity.
of the
A
community.
board that better reflects the diversity of the community. Okay. That's like, meh,
I'm already on the record, we're not liking this one, but
I know.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I'm thinking,
I know. So say something. I mean,
is the word reflect?
to increase diversity on every second board hours.
It's almost like you want it to better represent the.
I wonder if people will look at that as trying to, I don't know,
Influence the outcome of elections?
Yeah.
exactly.
That's my worry.
I'm
Okay.
just,
Interesting.
what I'm wondering now is like, for example, does the superintendent put in a strategic plan that includes the composition of the school board?
No, but teachers and staff, yes.
It's one of those things where it's,
see
you
what
don't
you're
have
saying.
any control
Control
over
over
the
it.
composition of
Right.
this board.
Exactly.
Right.
Why would we set ourselves a goal to?
To make
change it?
one.
Change the board.
Right.
And as far as directing the library and the staff, while we are not directly involved in staff, we are directly involved with the library director.
So do you want to get rid of the whole goal or just the board part?
I just don't like the second bullet point. I'm fine with the first bullet point.
I would say if there's a way to adapt it to say that we are using data to support using data to support
How about-
community according to those representations.
How about strategies to increase diversity among library staff and engage? So that's one part of it, but the second piece I'm trying to get at is the engagement of the community involvement in the library, which could be board members, could be volunteers. Well, you could stop with volunteers. You could take board members out and put in volunteers because y'all are volunteers.
I like that.
Whether I have volunteers that are helping me clean computers or staff, something else, do a homebound delivery, we should be looking at all of our volunteers wholly as being an engaged part of our community, and that's what should be more diverse, perhaps.
I think volunteers is fine to put in.
I agree.
But to say you want to control who's on the board,
Yeah.
that looks pretty tacky.
But
And I don't think,
how does that lie with you, Pat? Is it with you?
That is, and I think it's in other places, but it also, as we heard from Jamie today, it plays in to the awareness about collections and about, data and usage, so it has a lot of benefits.
could the library have, try to establish some kind of informal advisory board?
Yes, as long as it's not a public board, yeah. No, and we've thought about that for like,
30 years.
Like independent books or like affinity book groups or something like that. Just say like, oh, we'd like to have a board of people, not a board. We'd like to have some advisors or focus group that would work for, and usually you would have a finite time on that to advise us on developing a program. So
I was thinking that if you did something where you had a group of people who met maybe 2 or 3 times a year and had ideas about what the library could do that it isn't doing now. And then if you had a diverse group of people on that board or that group, then you would get ideas from people who are not necessarily represented on the board of trustees.
Right.
But they could still have ideas that you could bounce back to us and, or maybe you wouldn't even need to ask us because you just say, oh, that's a great idea, we'll just do it.
Yeah, I like that. And I think the idea is that, because you started to say engage, and I think that's why I just all thought, it's like, oh yeah, it's engaging. It's not just engaging you, it's engaging more people in the community in general. I can't hire everybody in the community. So let's focus on those volunteers.
And it also makes people feel as if they belong.
Yeah.
If they're, I mean, we could actually maybe have a list of criteria for the kind of, who we would like on the board
To help us.
to help us, you know,
It's not a board.
I know, sorry,
Focus group.
group,
Counterpoint, we have
Whatever.
comment every month
I know.
come in.
but I think
Sometimes they like to be invited.
I don't think we need people who would have to come every month. I think we should do it maybe three times a year or
Well, we
whatever.
don't know that answer. Because
No, we don't.
Think about it over the
Exactly.
next 3 to 5 years.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, it might be the kind of thing where we reach out to individuals that have the highest circulation,
Exactly.
something to that
Yeah.
nature.
Or people who we know exist in the community, but we never have seen that group of people here.
So this is where we just, and it's not just using the library. We want these people to be involved with the library.
Yeah.
So I think it's more than just
Probably,
providing services in, like, say, the MLL community or whatever. That is definitely, those are libraries as users. This, to me, this bullet point is about creating the library as a place where you want to come and volunteer, or you want to work where you feel included, you feel belonging, you feel that there's equity. So that's what this is about.
by the way, I was at a baby shower yesterday, and the people at the table I was sitting at were extolling the Reading Public Library. So I just thought you guys should know that.
Thank you.
I had nothing to do with this. It was a spontaneous
Until
thing. I said nothing. And it just was spontaneously came out.
Well, I appreciate that. It's good to hear.
Any
Not
other,
surprising, but
any other questions or comments on the strategic plan? Or if not, we've got a few sections to
I know, we want to get through.
discuss next month.
Everyone else feel good about everything else?
yeah.
We have one more deadline. No.
Do this one more time.
Let's do this one more time. You are going to vote on something because I do need to get it done after the
Yep.
September 9th meeting. Okay.
All right, moving on, financial report.
Okay. Really nothing to report. The director's report and the financial report are both, I think it's really hard to be off kilter within the first 8% of the year. So we're dead on. You will have noticed in the warrant this week, though, it's a doozy, and it's the doozy that always comes at the middle of August because it's all of our annual payments to Noble. It feels like a lot, but, I think, what'd you say, Megan, 90-something% or 86%? 86% of it is Noble, so the rest of it's just normal stuff. Jamie already mentioned, but the other thing I would have reported is that we went over the materials budget for the year and allocated all of our things out to that. And we did have a gift specifically from the UU Church that was to, in support of the Juneteenth, so we put that into our Juneteenth account. Director's report is, I had more. I had 33,814, and I think Jamie's number was 33,000 something 69, but
Look at that locker use.
I was going to say,
Beautiful.
it's nice, it's up.
nice. It's back to where it was literally a year ago. So we're very excited to have that going. And you can see like our overdrive usage just keeps going up and up and up. So we have spent a lot of time talking about ours today, so it's all done. We got the Dig In grant, $20,000. We did send out a quick press release about that, and but it doesn't start till October 1st. But we are gearing up, and we've already started talking with consultants. We've already started working on programming, and we've already started almost really spending the money. We have it. So, but we're very excited. We have a really great team working on this. Our grants. This is really a library-wide grant that has. The team is. It's not just one or two people that are going to be running the grant. This is a library-wide grant. We have people from every department working on this, so it's very exciting. So do you want to mention anything about the app?
So we will have the new app later than we thought. We were running into some issues with privacy software, Evergreen and Noble. And we were sort of at an impasse. And then Communico, who we're getting the app from, is going to actually work with us to make the app. They're working around the issues that we're having with privacy and Noble, and will be giving us what we're looking for to integrate our system. So people will be able to use the app to check items out, to place items on hold, and it's going to look really good. And so, and they understand that because of this little bump, they were fast tracking it with their software developers. So I'm not really sure when it's going to be ready, but the bump isn't going to be more of like a little speed bump than a mountain that we're going to have to be dealing with.
We have our app extension, our current app through September 15th, so it'll be before September 15th.
How are you communicating that there's a new app? Is it just if someone goes to the app, it says you need to update and then the update goes through, or are you actually pushing something out to let people know?
We're going to have to push something out to let people know. I don't think it's going to be seamless. I think something will have to go up on Google Play and then the Apple
App Store.
Not at that point yet.
Yeah.
But when I do, we'll make sure people know. So currently, because of the I know it's not the same thing, but we're going to have a gap in time for the meeting room bookings. And so I put stuff up on the website. We'll send something out shortly. We'll do as much as we can to make sure people know this is happening.
Look into getting something from the Google Play Store and the Apple Store, something. I mean, I know that as a banking customer, one of my banks changed out apps and they were very clear. They sent me 3 things saying, the app is changing. It's not an update. It's an actual change.
I actually also, I think
Yeah,
because.
and then like we were like, just so you know, your thing's going to stop working next week. So if there's a way we could get those emails or send out a blast email on the actual app.
I can send something on the app itself, but what I can also do, because we had to create Apple developer and a Google developer site, I think I can change the language.
Okay.
Basically, we'll make sure people know.
Okay, great.
There's been a lot of technology and I'm trying to like dump it out of my head and
Because just putting something on the app, someone would only see it if they have notifications set to push
right.
them something.
Right.
Otherwise, it won't
yes,
send them, it won't be obvious.
right.
I won't know until they try and use it.
Yeah, they try
Or
and-
they update.
Right.
I think the video stars in the children's room could definitely come up with a few humorous things to
Write that down.
remind people to update their app.
Olivia.
It doesn't exist.
You're right.
Yes. Did you see the glasses one?
Because they're,
Yes.
people
I
already
mean, the
have it in their.
Instagram gets a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
The Instagram
yeah.
gets
Oh, for sure.
a lot of traffic.
Yep.
And you're watching it on the phone, you can immediately go and delete that app and get the new one.
We will make sure it happens.
Old and new.
I think Pat volunteered to be part of the video. I think that's what I just heard.
Yeah. So, that's what I heard.
I'll be the angry caller.
mean-
My app's not working.
To be in it?
Oh, no.
Right?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
I love it.
Oh, and then we should get,
It's made for more radio.
and then
Thanks for email.
Matt Canellis do it. We have someone from the town.
I love it. I'm so excited about
Steve do
this. This is awesome. We will make it happen.
We have a new resource available, which I just talked about. The French speaker series is going great guns. We had a good month of programming in July. Tomorrow is Vehicle Day.
Vehicle day. Yeah.
You can come.
Can't anymore. It would be creepy.
Oh, you can come because you're a trustee.
Still a little creepy.
The little hats.
Creepy.
It's public and it's outside, so all these things are better, but it's still.
And you want to touch?
Still an adult.
Come on.
Knock on my neighbor's door. Can I borrow your kid for?
Get in and push the buttons. I mean,
Oh, just the honking. Honking.
I did just want to let you know that our staff day, I think I might have said earlier that it was on October 4th. We've changed that. Our staff development day will be Friday, November 1st, and the library will be closed. So I really wanted to, I figured if I left it till September, October, I don't know, I was nervous that that I forget to tell you, but we will be closed on that day, and we will have a lot of notification on that as well for the public. Actually, what's not on here, because I sent this out last Thursday, but we do have a new hire in the children's room that's going to be starting on August 26th. She accepted the offer late last week. So we're expecting her, pending all the correct checks and physical and all that other stuff. But yeah, so she's accepted, we're excited. And hopefully, other than maybe getting some high school pages on board, because our other high school pages are graduated, I think we might hopefully be done with hiring for a little while. So but we're really good at it.
Great.
I have for the.
Any questions on either of the director's reports? Hearing none, I believe the next item is the minutes of our July 8th, 2024 meeting that are in the packet. I've reviewed, I have no notes or comments myself.
Beautiful.
They look great.
That's my only note.
Hearing none, do I hear a vote?
I move we approve the minutes of July 8th, 2024.
Second.
Seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carries 4-0. Okay. Got a 3% of battery. Perfect for the future agenda items. So September, we're going to have the strategic plan. And we will have fall programming and an update on summer reading and a report on the library landscape committee that we keep hearing about.
And we're not saying we don't care about them.
Oh,
No?
we're just pledging to support with our hearts.
And we'll view the new app altogether.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it'll be ready. So the person, Communico, is really been supportive and very hands-on, easy to access, and very pleased with them. And if I have I need any beta testers, I know that I will be reaching out to you.
Please do.
Yeah.
Love to.
Thank you.
Where to find us.
I will be happy to break it somehow.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anything else? Anything else on the future agenda items?
I can think of.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
I hear a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor? There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.